What could possibly stop me from dropping one of the best anime of all time? One Piece is a journey, and yes, we all know this. It's a show with over 1,000 episodes, and if a show is that long, it better not be dragging. It has to feel as if we, the viewers, are with them on the adventure. We are practically one of the crewmates, and every arc symbolizes our commitment to stay on that pirate ship. With that being said, that doesn't mean every part of the adventure is good. I don't know if y'all will agree with me, but Skypiea and Long Ring Long Land was so mid, I almost had to leave the crew. I'm not joking. I was stuck on One Piece for a total of, you know what, let me check. 2 years? Now for those of you in the comments who may be flaming me right now, you actually have it right. 2 years on an arc is crazy. But my brother who's caught up on the anime persisted for what feels like on a daily basis, telling me, just get to water 7. Just get to water 7. And honestly, it was one day in my college dorm where I told myself I would push through because I could feel the diamonds were near. And little did I know, peak was ahead. You know, the first thing that comes to mind after watching Water 7 is how did Oda go from this to this? Like seriously, I know he was in his room saying, I understand it now. Because Water 7 gets deep with its themes, mystery, and internal conflict when following the Straw Hats. But before we go there, we gotta see how the setup takes place. The world building up until now in One Piece has been solid. We've been to the desert, the sky, and now we're at an entire city made up of water. This city feels alive. It has its own identity, it has its own means of transportation, the buildings are manufactured in a way that adheres to the environment, and it straight up is a city with Six Flags level rides going up and down at roller coaster speeds. Like, this is entertainment 24/8. And with Luffy as our MC, his personality embraces this very idea. His free-spirited mind and spontaneous character lets him not have a care in the world while scouring through Water 7. The man is having fun. So while all the Straw Hats are doing their thing, while Chopper and Nico Robin are just taking a stroll through town, a masked individual passes by Nico Robin. And this is when I knew it wasn't gonna be no regular arc. I had to sit up and lock in cause Oda was cooking. Immediately the vibe switches up crazy. We were just having a good time and now Robin is in a cold sweat off the mere name, CP9. Of course, not knowing what this meant at the time is what Oda continues to do in this arc that makes it so great. He drops bits and pieces with how vague the info is. You can't really move forward with it. Look, I know for the most part, Nico Robin was on our side. But as the arc continues, I really started to not like her. Yeah, get mad at me all you want. But she was genuinely starting to piss me off. And that was because of how grimy she was moving. You mean to tell me you heard somebody drop their gamer tag and all of a sudden you're on Do Not Disturb? She had no problem detaching herself from the Straw Hats, and that's what really got me. And even the crew started to feel it. She came off as inhuman, like she learned not how to care at all. Relationships, bonds that were built, moments of laughter, all gone in a second. The foreshadowing of her being alive and leaving every crew she left behind dead started to come to fruition. Looking back, I'm sure this is how Oda wanted us to feel. Now, with how many random things happen in this show, the way we get reeled in or introduced to some deep conflicts by starting so trivial really got me. This bag, yes, this bag of large amounts of money disappears so many times. I'm not gonna lie, I was annoyed because of something so simple as to keep a bag in your hands can't be done. I had to learn that One Piece's humor also plays on the characters of the cast. And I don't mean one-liners, I mean very serious payoffs later in the arc delayed because of BS like this. When you have Luffy's lax nature come to being a problem, like him quite literally accidentally throwing 100 million belly in the water, or the crew having bird brain moments leaving their money as free licks, it really starts to backfire on them. And we see it happen when the money is stolen. Usopp gets caught lacking by a crew of pirates, gets jumped, and left in the middle of the city with empty hands. Now, although majority of the time Usopp is played off as comedic effect, The idea of being the joke of the crew really started to affect him. Being found by Nami, he tells her how much shame and guilt he felt. Nami tells him the crew will take care of the issue. But that was the issue itself. Usopp is tired of being the teammate on the crew who constantly has to get carried, who always has to be told, stay back, we got this. But this time, he takes matters into his own hands. This is why I never understood why Usopp is called the coward, and maybe y'all can help me understand, but him literally being afraid of fighting boss level threats as a regular dude was always just him knowing his matchups. But he isn't cowardice, as it takes guts to walk up on whole gang's hideout at 1 HP to get 300 million back. Usopp knew exactly what he was walking into, and he didn't care. Now, I'd be lying if I said I didn't know the outcome. Usopp gets whatever dignity he had left stripped from him, being ragdolled and humiliated by Frankie's crew. This confirmed Usopp's self-doubt, that he wasn't worthy enough to hang with the crew. But with his self-esteem so low, it starts to show in matters that it shouldn't have. Luffy, Zoro, Sanji, and Chopper, they make sure to get their get back. You ain't gonna touch one of our crewmates and think everything is sweet over here. And it had nothing to do with money. It was off the mere principle of hurting somebody they called their crewmate. We head back to the ship where things finally calm down a bit. And immediately, tension shoots back to an all-time high because Usopp finally gets the news.
乗り換えることにしたんだ。ゴーイングメリー号には世話になったけど、この船での航海はここまでだ。
Now, before I even break this down, I want to say Usopp was way out of line. When y'all heard me speak on Usopp leading up to this moment, I want to say I understood him. But ain't no way you about to be talking to the captain of the ship like that. Usopp let his insecurity of not being capable enough override the conversation. He lets his assumptions govern the entire talk. When Luffy made the remark that they can get a used ship for 100 mil, Usopp immediately thought the reason they could not repair the ship was because of him losing the money. He also just randomly starts getting disrespectful as he starts name calling, grabs the roll of paper right out of Luffy's hand. Luffy already had a burden having to make the tough call of getting a new ship, but making him say it out loud, the hard truth, that was probably hurting him silently the entire time. Now y'all would think after the hard truth of the Mary fundamentally being irreparable, Usopp would understand, but nah. He takes the disrespect even further as he disrespects Luffy's entire character, making it seem as if Luffy doesn't care for the ship at all. And y'all want to know how a show's writing is so good? I started to feel genuinely frustrated and angry because the hard truth is you have to let go. And you're questioning my passion for the boat? Usopp was in deep denial. He was letting his emotions override logic in the situation. And it gets to a point in the conversation where Usopp is standing face to face with Luffy. And Luffy is standing on business. He's not budging. The ship has gotta go. Usopp decides to stand right against what Luffy says. And this is where the tension reaches a boiling point, where Luffy almost says if Usopp can't accept orders, he's gotta. Shout out to Sanji, he's a real one for that. He made sure the heat of the moment did not get to their heads, but Usopp was already far gone. He starts rambling and says why he doesn't feel adequate enough, and Usopp ends up leaving the crew. And Luffy's silence in this moment speaks 1,000 words. This argument was tough, and it left me feeling a bit rough at the end of the episode. But this argument wasn't just some worthless conflict. This genuinely felt familial. I've had arguments with my siblings. The feeling Luffy feels here, I understand. It's a conflict of wishing the relationship could be repaired, yet blocked by the pride of our wicked heart wanting to stand in the right. There was one time my cousin and I stopped talking for a solid 2 weeks because of an argument that was had playing a basketball game. But it was the principle of the disrespect. Now I want to make clear, never hold a grudge. It actually says in the word not to let the sun go down on your anger, as holding a grudge is truly just drinking poison that kills your own body. It's hard, yet freeing to forgive. And what this argument ultimately leads to was one of the silliest, yet most emotional fights of the arc.
I want you to fight me, Monkey D. Luffy. I challenge you to a duel! I can't stop you from destroying your own ship, but if I win, I'm taking the Mary and leaving. Either way, when we're done, the last bond between us will be broken.
Throughout the arc of Water 7, we learned that Luffy isn't at his best when fighting during internal conflict. Once he gets 100% confirmation or has come to accept the situation, that's when he can throw hands no problem. Yet fighting Usopp was fighting his brother, a fight that the crew themselves couldn't even bear to watch. Out the gate, Usopp surprises me though. He pulls out his mystery Mouska tools and starts to fight with an edge on Luffy. He's got Luffy blinded and has him smelling like wet farts. He's setting Fortnite traps on Luffy. Usopp is up on the scorecard 3 rounds to none. Usopp proves to himself to be the strategist during this fight, planning many steps ahead to hit one attack. The move he hit where he surrounds Luffy with gas and engulfed him in flames made me realize Usopp's mind was set straight on walking on his own path after this. Up 3-0, Usopp almost puts this battle to rest when he absorbs Luffy's devious attack and pulls the most insane Uno reverse card of all time, putting the impact dial that took that massive hit dead in Luffy's face. Look, no matter whose side you on, you've got to give Usopp his props because I thought he won. I really thought he won right here. Luffy with his max durability though stands up. And seriously, Luffy is hard to knock out. He wouldn't stay down for nothing. He looks at Usopp one more time and gut punches him. Luffy coming back on the scorecard, winning by KO. Luffy won. But the wound of losing his crewmate hurt more than any wound he took on that battlefield. And in the moment where the Straw Hats wanted some alone time, that just couldn't be possible. Having all eyes on you, that's the best and worst thing to happen to you as a pirate. And although on one end, the Straw Hats were getting their notoriety, the reason why changes everything. Attempted murder pinned on them by Nico Robin. This would have been my final straw, no pun intended, as to move on from Nico as a character. Not only did you leave without a trace, but you've made every step I take a living annoyance with the city on my back. But that alone wasn't enough for Luffy, which is why I respect him as a captain. The very fact that he wasn't addressed by Robin directly, nor did her reason make any sense to leave the first time around, lit a fire in him to demand an answer from her himself. The story has hit its peak for Water 7 because the mysterious individual with the mask, Nico's reason, and the possibility of Iceberg's death is all at stake on the night of Agua Laguna.
There's still a lot of things we don't know about Robin. Now it's time to decide if she's a friend or a foe.
This GTA heist was the biggest setup to put the Straw Hats in the grave. Now, Luffy and the crew knew exactly what they were walking into, but it didn't matter. The scene was like that of Tilted Towers. This was the hot spot. Third parties flying in from everywhere, let alone the building being guarded like the White House. The night was silent, waiting for the cue to begin action. Then it began. Everybody's on the move. Robin is breaking necks with no hesitation. Masked Man is murking individuals. Oh my gosh. And Luffy? Well, Luffy doesn't have a brain. This is the bird brain activity I was just talking about earlier. How is this the biggest moment where lives are at stake? Credibility is on the flat burner and you decide to be the glick between buns, no Bev. I kid y'all not. I was so disappointed to know Peak would have been delayed a few moments because of stupidity like this. Nonetheless, just because Luffy was stuck doesn't mean the plan was at full stop. The objective of CP9 was to steal what could possibly be the key to creating nukes in the world of One Piece. Let's talk about Polly real quick, because y'all know the heartbreaking plot twist that's coming up soon. Polly is the definition of a day one. An individual who's been through thick and thin with the city and the mayor. He has his flaws, but at least he's trustworthy. And to my surprise, Iceberg can sense that energy. Iceberg tells Polly the location of the blueprints, and on his way there, we finally see and feel the true terror of CP9. This is where Oda shows us there are levels to One Piece. My jaw dropped when one of the toughest shipwrights swung his 2,000-pound hammer at Masked Man and it got totaled like a car. Then he gets disrespected, being held in place just moments before he gets flattened himself. He's still alive after this, by the way. And there are a lot of how are they still alive moments in this show. But it's mainly for comedic timing. Like, nobody got shot here. How are they not moving on? Luffy is finally done messing around, just for him to let us down again. As CP9 was really moving so coordinated to the point to where they had enough time to fully shatter Iceberg's spirit, the reveal of CP9. This reveal threw me so off. It got me hurt because their ability to just switch their fake personality off and be so cold was ruthless. The government truly hit the highest bar of slimy activity. Iceberg lost all respect for these dudes, and it doesn't matter how tough you think you are. And that goes for Rob Lucci. This man Lucci tries to act the most nonchalant during this grand reveal. He probably planned their entrance, cause no way your bird perfectly lands on your shoulder for you to use your own real voice anyway. He can try to act cool all he wants, but when Iceberg calls out the BS that the government is and tells Lucci, "I just know human nature, boy," he started to show cracks in his leopard-like personality. This is the definition of standing on business. In the eyes of all his traitors, he's not afraid to say how he truly feels. He still got dropkicked though. I just know that hurt. Right when CP9 finally gathered all the clues they need and realized the true target they were after all along was Frankie, the Straw Hats finally arrive in their timely yet wild manner. And this final interaction is what sets up the amazing follow-up arc that is Enies Lobby. This is the climax. Everybody who's in the know, knows the know, and how's the know is finally here. And Polly is distraught at the sight of his day ones turning on him. And Lucci rubs it in because he knows how off the wall this all seems. He proceeds to say something so foul. Just listen to this. Polly is done with all this talking and heads straight for Lucci. He starts with his throwing knives. Lucci makes light work of that, shaving through the whole move. Look at that man, he's too swift. Lucci closes in on him, and before Polly can react, he gets folded like a lawn chair. Lucci tries to execute him, then Luffy finally gets into action. Luffy starts off with a kick straight to the face, but Lucci catches it. Luffy follows up with the Gatling, but come on Luffy, your form is off here. You looked a little sloppy on this one. You stayed in the air for like 5 seconds. He's seen this one coming from a mile away, and instead of dodging, just to show the difference in power, he tanks it. Lucci finishes this battle off quick, going for the shave to finger pistol combo. He's looking unstoppable, running through the entire gauntlet right now. The battle comes to a standstill, and we see Nico as she tries her hardest to put her walls up. You can see that Nico Robin's unbelief in what she was truly saying. She wanted to make herself seem so unreachable, yelling at her crew to stay away and leave her alone, yet her body language showed how she wanted help the entire time. Her pupils shaking when she says she's willing to make any sacrifice, knowing it was herself she spoke of that entire time. She never gave a concrete reason, just something she thought was enough to go back to her usual way of life. A way of life that shunned her entire existence, and the mere fact that the only group of people she found genuine could actually die if they tried to chase her, that's what made her put on the wild act. Once again, gotta give credit to Luffy and the crew for not accepting that mess as an answer too. The convo gets cut short, and Luffy and Zoro unfortunately get demolished in their respective battles. Lucci uses this moment of loss to hopefully put them into a pit of despair by showing his true form. CP9 take Robin, using what they thought was the last bullet train on the way to Enies Lobby. But as we all know, the Straw Hats found a way. Water 7 is an arc that finally put One Piece on the level of what I heard it to be. I haven't stopped watching it since. The mysteries and the themes told during this arc finally drew me closer to the Straw Hats as a whole. So how much did y'all like Water 7? And how well does it hold up for y'all? Other than that, thanks for watching. God bless and peace.